Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Every Day's a Train Wreck. I'm your host, Marley Major, and I have absolutely one of my best friends ever, but don't worry, you're going to get a ton of value out of this one on today's show. His name is Simon T. Bailey. He has a new book out because he has like 1,000, and you need to look at this on YouTube or something so you can see the visual behind him of all his best-selling books. But his latest one is called Resilience at Work: How to Coach Yourself into a Thriving Future. So I need some of that advice, just like I always need some of my sunshine from my STB, my brother from another mother. Simon, welcome to the show, baby.
My friend, how are you, Marley?
I am so good. I'm a lot better right now. I will tell you that I'm talking to you and see that smiling face. And if for those of you who have met Simon, know Simon, have bought a book of Simon's, you will know that the man might as well be called Joseph of the Technicolor Rainbow, because all he ever wears is pink with the orange pocket square with the purple socks, with the like neon lime green, pedophore, whatever, I don't know. But today he's in white. You're in a white. Why in God's green land today of all days would you be in a white top, Simon?
I dialed it down just for you.
Why of all people? Like, why would you dial it down? I mean, maybe you guys said that he can highlight all of his rainbow colored books behind him. I mean, that looks very like what's the Find Your Joy woman, the organizer? Is that who organized the back of the thing where you put all your books by color and by everything? I don't know if it says OCD, but it's a nice background. But yeah, of all times, you're wearing white. I've never one time seen you in white. So, okay, Simon. So we go way back, and I would like to tell that story, which will be probably different from a little bit from how you remember it. But way back in the day. So obviously I'm an event planner, and that, a million years ago, it had to be almost 18-ish years ago, probably.
Yes.
I went to an industry convention put on, like one of the best. I can't even call it like an industry convention. It's more like a boutique luxury experience. I mean, I don't even know how you call it. It's called Engage with Rebecca and Catherine. And Simon is like, joined at the hip with these two. Okay, so he is at every event they do. And this is the first one I've gone to. I can't remember why exactly I went, but I pretty much, was going to know no one. And that was at the Breakers, wasn't it?
At the Breakers.
Yeah, the Breakers Hotel in Florida. And I remember I, kind of flew in on my broomstick, and I'm looking for a soft place to land. And I swear to you, it was like the paparazzi swarming this man in the pink shirt with, like neon green stripes or something to the equivalent. And I'm like, what in the world is that? And they're like, oh, Simon. Oh, Simon. And I thought, what in the, like, oh, that's Simon T. Bailey. And I was like, well, what is the Simon T. Bailey? What kind of Kool-Aid is this man of these girls drinking? It's like some kind of cult setup here. And then later I find out, of course, the guy never drinks more than like an orange crush or something, or some kind of, ridiculous lemonade concoction. And I don't even know how, but later in the day, like we ended up kind of sitting next to each other, and I was just like, tell me about your magic, sir. And then we were kind of friends, literally, I think, ever since. And what is the best part is that Simon is the most prim and proper and perfect individual. I don't think the man has had a swear word come out of his mouth. I mean, he could be giving birth to triplets and nothing. He wouldn't even say the word damn. And here I am swearing like a, freaking sailor. And Simon and I just got along like a house on fire. And I have learned so much from you over the years. I have called you in some of my darkest times, as you know. And I just love everything that you're about. You're this amazing author. Your first one was Shift Your Brilliance, or was that just one of the ones that everybody knows?
That's the one everyone knows. Yeah.
That's one everybody knows. But you got to get this latest one. So Simon, now that I've talked, done the 5-minute monologue here, say hi and like start giving your good juju to the world, because we all need it right now. Hot stuff. Yeah.
First of all, when we first met, we became fast friends. You're like the sister that I've never had. And every time I have been in LA, your hospitality, your wisdom, the laughter, like we get together and we just laugh about everything when we're not crying, and really excited to be with you and everyone today. So,
Now, can you please refresh my memory about one thing? When we had Warren, who is Warren is head of this huge catering company in Florida. What is it? Puff and Stuff? Puff and
stuff.
Puff and Stuff. Well, don't look at me with my memory. And why were you, Warren, and I in a car together? Were you running for office or something? What were you doing?
Oh, we were hanging out. We were just hanging out.
We were hanging out, but we were supporting somebody running for office. What were we doing? Oh, that's it. We were like handing out flyers or something for Simon's cousin, or I don't even know what it was. And I'm telling you, the three of us, Warren and Simon and I could barely get down the road because I was just like, this is a clown full of cars like I have never seen. And
oh my God.
It's one
You already got
he's crying
tears.
already.
I'm already crying already.
He's already crying. So Simon, tell us, give us your backstory, because it started at the perfect place, Disney, right?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Then I interviewed one day and I wasn't supposed to talk to the media. And I said, I see myself as president and CEO of the Walt Disney World Resort and eventually chairman and CEO of the Walt Disney Company. And the journalist puts it in print. And my boss calls me in the office. He's like, what the heck were you thinking when you did this interview? And Marley, I said to him, Larry, our company says if your heart is in your dreams, no request is too extreme. For when you wish upon a star, it makes no difference who you are. But obviously it does here. Yeah. Funny today, not funny then.
Not funny then. Not funny when you got a mortgage and kids. And yeah, I get it. Yep. I get that. And so you and Walt Disney parted ways.
They invited me to find my happiness elsewhere. I heard the footsteps coming and they were not singing. It's a small world after all.
They were singing The World Is Not Big Enough for Walt Disney and its future president. God help me. Okay. So then what'd you do?
I launched out, turned down 4 jobs, decided to hang my shingle out to really put a dent in the world and to help teach people that a job is what you're paid to do, but brilliance and releasing it is what you're made to do, and have been doing that for the last 20 years. I've worked with about 2,500 organizations in 55 countries. And for me, it still feels like day one. I absolutely love what I do.
Yeah. And I can tell you, this man, there are more babies that he has kissed and more. I mean, literally, I see him walk through a crowd and I'd like to retch. And he just is full of positivity and really wants the world to be brilliant and fabulous. I don't think he's ever tired. I don't think his shirt is ever wrinkled. And so brilliant you will find yourself when you're in the company of Simon T. Bailey. So Simon, how has your message evolved along the way, or has it? Because it really has been, I mean, talk about somebody who knows their brand and is their brand and embodies their brand and all this other stuff. I mean, that is definitely you. I mean, it's not like, we all haven't had issues in our lives, but you just continuously look for the sunny side up and the best path forward. And I think look at things as like these, even something that's challenging, it's a gift, right? That you turn into something better. So how has stuff evolved?
So I'm teaching the world now, and this will be what I will talk about until I take my last breath.
That's not on this show.
Okay. No. Okay. I have decided to become the instigator of what I am calling the amplified hope economy. Oh. And amplified hope economy is simply understanding when belief becomes behavior, behavior becomes a better world. I think right now, Marley, we see that a hopeless person is a helpless person, but a hopeful person is a helpful person. So how do we amplify hope and really help people be hopeful and helpful at the same time?
Yeah, well, that's amazing. Well, one thing we haven't even talked about, but it's a little press release that went out today on my behalf, or that we sent out about another large corporation, American Airlines, not walking their walk. And, we just came back from my oldest son, Cullen's wedding in Raleigh. And, my 92-year-old dad, and we had a tight connection, told the flight attendant. And she said, people in wheelchairs always go last, and they wouldn't hold the flight at the connection, even though I was down there. They closed the gates on us and said, well, you can go if you want, since you're here on time, but we can't wait. And they pulled the plane away from the gate 8 minutes early with 13 people, all like from that other same flight. And it turned into this total. And I just thought, wow, talk about not helpful, right? And ironically, when I called to try to get the tickets rebooked, and, we were with my daughter, there's 4 of us, and they were like, oh, make sure, as you're waiting on the hold music, make sure we want to hear from you and we want to whatever. And it reminds me of your Mouse House experience, because at the end of the day, it's like, they don't really want to hear from you, right? Because first thing I said was, can you please have them hold the plane's not even going to depart late. He's 4 gates away. Like they can't wheel him fast enough. And, no, but there's nothing I can do about that, ma'am. You'll have to talk to the airport. And I'm like, well, I'm standing in the airport. So I think you're right. When you feel like there is no hope, or there is no hope out of a certain situation, or there's nothing, quote, you can do, that is really the worst spot to be in. Because I think if you always kind of are grasping to the idea that you can do something, right? Like, okay, this isn't great, but I can somehow, get out of it. But how do you think we've gotten here where we have lost so much hope? Like what makes it up? I know you actually do, know the answer. So
I think what's happening right now, number one, there's a psychological unmooring where we have lost kindness, just being kind to another human being. The second thing, I think businesses are doing more with less, which is an overused phrase, but it's also a culture of it's not my problem that is happening. And so what individuals have got to focus on, especially in business, is if you see it or hear it, you own it. And how do you empower people to own the problem and actually do something about it, and not turn to a manual, not seek out a manager to say, how can I fix this right now? It wouldn't have cost them anything else if they would have just held the gate for your father and 13 other people to make the flight. It would be okay. That would be like a win. And people would actually talk about that on social media.
Talk about that win. And the irony of the whole thing is, by that flight taking off leaving the gate 8 minutes early and stranding all of us, we were all going from Charlotte to Los Angeles. So guess what? There were all the other flights to Los Angeles that day were oversold. So that created the total cluster. So then they were like, oh, well, the next flight's oversold. They were going to separate us so 2 of us could go, and then 2 of us could go another, and we're talking about a 92-year-old man in a wheelchair, right? Mm-hmm. And so then they finally got us on one flight, but then they hauled me off the plane to discuss the situation to see if my party, quote, would be like able to fly and not cause trouble. And I was like, okay, what have I had? Like, I don't even know. By the time they let me back on the plane, that flight was late to departing. So then these other 2 guys who were departing, then they were missing their next connection. Like it was so simple to resolve. It was just so simple, or even just to try. Right. And it is just amazing the ripple effect, like positive or negative, that things can have. How much do you think COVID affected this hope crisis that we're in?
Yeah, I think COVID really brought it to the surface, where everybody was just hinged up and they're separated from people, and we forgot the power of humanity. Mm-hmm. And slowing down, pumping the brakes to say, what can we do instead of what we can't do? This whole isolation, loneliness, it just created, I'm going to focus on my 4 no more, or I'm going to just take care of myself. Right. And we forgot the power of human being instead of just being a human doing.
That's really true. And it's interesting because, and I can speak from my own experience. I can speak from my experience just with you, how sometimes the world, you just feel like there is no hope, right? Like you feel like you've gone to every corner, you've tried everything, you've knocked on every door, and it, like Thomas Edison with his 10,000th time or whatever, he invented the light bulb, and then 9,999 times, it didn't work, is how powerful it is. Like, I know when I've just reached out, even if it's just a text, like, or somebody reached out and said, "Oh, how are you doing?" And you're like, I'm kind of having a tough time, because what we forget is that other people actually want to help. Sometimes other people do thrive on giving you, help and hope. Not everybody, but it really does a service to let people in. And I don't think we can do it by ourselves. Like, do you know anybody who is totally solitary and doesn't have a community or something they're passionate about and is very happy? It'd be hard to imagine.
No, all of the research says in order to grow and flourish, you have to be in community with others. Because when you're in community with others, they are practicing compassion, empathy, listening deeply, not trying to fix you, but just inviting you into a safe place where you can show up. And that in and of itself builds the agency of hope to continue to move forward into the future.
So let's say somebody listens to this podcast and they're like, "Okay, great. This is awesome, Simon. Like, I get it. I get the bullet points. I get behind the concept. I understand what you're saying." But what does that look like practically? What does it look like in a business environment? What does it look like in a personal environment? What does it look like maybe with kids?
Yeah. So Dr. Rick Snyder was a scholar at the University of Kansas, and for 30 years, his research was on hope theory. And one of the things he taught from a practical standpoint is that hope starts with a plan. And so what's your plan? Or even more importantly, what is it that you really, really want when we think about that from a personal standpoint? When we think about it from a business standpoint, what value can I add to a customer, to a client? So it starts with a plan. And then the second thing that he would teach is, so once you have that plan, what's that next step? And so many times, Marley, people are trying to do this big thing. Just take one micro step. Pick up the phone, make the call, go to the meeting, because that micro step creates the confidence and the agency to say, wait a minute, that worked, that didn't work. What can I learn from this? And it's this constant ability to look through the windshield of where you're going instead of the rear view mirror of where you've been, because sometimes we get stuck in the rear view mirror. So micro step, what did we learn? Rinse and repeat. Okay. How do we do that better? How do we add more value? I'll give you just a quick story. So I'm working at Disney, and back in the 40s, Walt taught a concept called plussing it up. And plussing it up simply means going the extra step. I was in South Dakota a few weeks ago, and in South Dakota, they say it's going the extra acre. So it's finding that little thing to go above and beyond. So in the movie Lion King, Rafiki holds up Simba and Simba sneezes. 99% of the movie-going audience never noticed the sneeze. But if you were to talk to then CEO Michael Eisner and the animators, you say, "Hey, what's the story with the sneeze?" They would say, "We did it for the 1%, because 99% never saw it." Right. The 1% said, "Oh my goodness, you plussed it up. You went above and beyond." So from a practical standpoint, wherever you show up every single day, what's the one thing that you can do to go the extra step? So if you have a proposal that's due on Friday, what if it's there on Wednesday? That's plussing it up. If you're going into a public place, instead of you just walking in, what if you hold the door for the person that's coming behind you? That's plussing it up. That builds that hope and that agency to say you're just not by yourself, but you see everyone else.
Yeah, I love that. And it's funny you said the door example, because I was thinking of that. And sometimes, I mean, so many people are in such a rush. You're like, "Oh my gosh, did you like, I just like got my nose broken here that door hit me so fast." And, as you're going through, but sometimes it's not, it's just that. And sometimes what I found is even just smiling to people who like, or just if somebody's struggling, like, since I've just been in airports a lot lately, I know you are always in airports, but just, "Can I help you with your bag?" Like, if you're just, I mean, so many times when you're struggling to get these giant suitcases off, and it's not to say you're not strong enough to do it. It's sometimes you're just at an awkward angle, right? And yes. And I know, traveling these days is stressful, and it's going to be even more stressful, right? With these air traffic controller situations and the government shutdown and all this stuff. And now the holidays are coming up, but it's so appreciated when somebody just says, can I help you put your bag up there, on the shelf, or I can hold your drink while you're settling in. Where you're just like, oh my gosh, like so many times that feels like the breath of fresh air. And it's ironic tying it back to what you're talking about, because so many times I will have said, oh my gosh, so-and-so helped me with this or that, some random stranger. And I'll be telling the story and I'll just be like, oh my gosh, it gives you hope for humanity, or I will say, let's say it's a young person or a teenager who does it. I mean, that's amazing. Then I'm like, oh my gosh, there really is hope, when they have the manners and the foresight to be like, oh man, get that for you. Or can I help you with that? It's just, wow, there's somebody like awake. And it does kind of go to that whole pay it forward thing, right? Where then you kind of want to do something nice for the next person.
Absolutely. Imagine you're in a grocery store and there's an elderly person behind you and they just have a few groceries. What if you paid for their groceries, if your budget allows, for the person behind you? Or you're at a restaurant and you say, what other tables do you have, to the waiter? And they said, I have such table. And you paid their bill without them needing to know that the bill was paid. Right. Little acts of kindness. In other words, Marley, the little things are the big things right now.
Correct. You're so right. It's like when you don't, it's like when you don't feel well, you have the stomach flu or something, right? And, you've got a fever and you just have like ice on your forehead, and like, you're just so grateful for that little tiny amount of relief. And I think this is the perfect time to be doing this podcast, as you say, as we are in the last quarter of the year. So, Q4, if you're in business, or just last quarter of the year, like we're going to hit Halloween. And we always hear these stories, right? Of, oh, then these kids came and they filled their whole basket with, all the candy, and they were, 19 years old or whatever. But just small things that you can do, right? To just sort of, I don't know, get our manners back a little bit, and just be thinking of, someone else other than just only being in our own heads. Because you have amazing concepts, right? You have amazing concepts, you have amazing wisdom, and you certainly do your homework on them. How did you settle on hope as what the hill you want to die on? Your words, not mine.
Yeah. So when I looked at the work that I've been doing the last 20 years, what I realized that hope has always been there. And then I stumbled upon some research from Emory University that says when you help someone else, the reward centers in your brain begin to light up, almost as if you have been on the receiving end of the person you've just helped. Wow. And they call it, wait for it, the helper's high. So I was like, wait a minute, hold up, time out.
Yeah.
When you help somebody with no strings attached, all of a sudden you are becoming that hope driver to say, I'm going to help you. And it's not about me. It's about we. And I said, oh my goodness, that's what the world needs more of. And then I came across a piece of research, which I want to share with you. A new groundbreaking study from the University of Missouri shows hope may be even more essential to well-being than happiness or gratitude. So well-being is, how are you doing? Wellness is, what are you doing about how you're doing? So when I put it all together, I'm like, wait a minute. If I help someone else, I'm helping my well-being, and I'm creating hope in the world, because hope pulls you forward. The only reason we're on this podcast today is because you sent me a request and you hoped that I would show up.
Oh no, I'd like to clear. That is absolutely not why we're on this podcast. Okay, oh hell no. I will drink some of your Kool-Aid because you are the guest. But what I will not do is lie to the audience. And that is absolutely not true. The reason, ladies and gentlemen, we are on this podcast because I stalked him, hounded him, told him, I will not be going away. If you think this is the last text / reach out, you are absolutely wrong. So speaking of like promoting your hope message, I was not only hopeful, I was 1000% confident you were going to be on this damn podcast if it's the last thing I do. So I hope somebody on this podcast is the one that helps you with your hope is the hill to die on, because it's not the right time. It's not the right this. I was like, I don't give two hoots. You think it was the right time when, I'm in the deep cut or whatever of Los Angeles trying to find you a pocket square because you lost yours? I mean, it's not the damn right time for anything, Simon. So yeah. So as I say, let the record reflect. This was a flat out stalking situation that I did not want to go viral. Okay. I did not want to go viral. And I said, Simon, I will do it, brother from another mother. I will go all the way as far as I need to go to say, bring your latest message of hope, pal, but you better schedule a damn time. So there you go. Okay. That's so you might have had your own hope that you weren't going to have to do it. And I'm telling you, my hope was tugging in a different direction. So we see who won that tug of war. Just as I say, there you go.
Tears.
Okay. Well, Simon, as I say, I mean, as I should be, because some of this it just a bridge too far for me. Okay, so now, and as I say, I know you're busy, but I'm just like, hell no. I mean, if you're building bridges and God only knows some war-torn country and helping Habitat for Humanity or, bitten by a boa constrictor, maybe, but not just when you're roaming around in South Dakota or wherever you've just been recently, your freaking boozy 5-star hotels. Okay. So there you go. So giving everybody some hope and a laugh. And, how can we put some of that hope and positivity into these last few months at the end of the year when we know that mental health really takes a hit around the holidays, right? We know whether it's because you've recently lost someone you love, or you've broken up with a boyfriend, or, you're not going to be at home with your kids for the holidays, or you just got to, whatever it is, people tend to have trouble, right? When it gets to the end of the year. And that always breaks my heart. So what are some steps people can do for themselves as kind of creating that plan? And also, what are some things that people listening can do and be mindful of to help people that maybe they don't understand, they've never experienced being sad or feeling lonely during the holidays, but a lot of people do. So what are some ideas you've got for that?
So Dr. Maria Music, University of Michigan, clinical psychiatrist, says individuals need three things right now: to be seen, to be valued, to be understood. So I would invite you during this time, especially as you connect with family and friends, is to just start with, how are you? The how are you question allows individuals to be seen. The next thing is, what would it be like to say, here's why I appreciate you? And starting with the positive, because people need to be affirmed in a world where at some level they may feel diminished. So to say, here's what I appreciate about you, because Marley, I'm focusing on what's right about you instead of what's wrong with you. Mm-hmm. And so to just take a moment and give specificity, here's why I appreciate you. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't just sound like BS or you're just saying something, but right. It's not the quantity of what you say, it's the quality. Here's why I appreciate you. But then the third thing I think that is so powerful is reflect on the last year and say, here's why I am thankful for you, my family, my friends. And it's that Thanksgiving, that ability to say, here's why I'm thankful for you and for us. It allows you to spiral up instead of spiraling down. And when individuals go nuclear negative, I want to invite you just to listen. Screensaver face. Allow them to process wherever they are and simply say, I understand. And that's it. That's it. There's no more dialogue. I choose not to go there so that I understand, acknowledges, okay, you're having a moment. I'm going to let you have that moment. And I understand, but I don't want to engage and go down that rabbit hole.
So somebody who's near and dear to your heart, who you haven't seen in a while, her name is Coco, bless her. Okay. And when I pull that I understand situation and I I do that, like, okay, you listen and you make she'll be like, don't pull that blah, 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 blah on me. I mean, you're just saying, oh, right. Like you think I'm going to, and then that's where I just go, listen, my alternate thing to say is, instead of I understand, it's, you think the mothers of TikTok are, how they do it is to say, if they don't do it this way on TikTok, then, you're doing things all wrong. So how do you say that I understand and not come across as just like being like, I understand. And what would your response to Coco be when she goes ballistic? At her saying, oh, yeah. Let me tell you, that's a situation that continued to accelerate. Simon, let's just.
So could it be, Coco, how would you like to fix this? Coco, what does success look like to you? Coco, what are you going to do to improve this situation? So it's inviting Coco to be a part of the solution to whatever she's articulated, because it's not you telling you should do this. You're inviting her to search within herself to say, wait a minute, what can I do about it?
That's good. And what about if let's say, a lot of people listening might be volunteering. They might be part of customer service. They might be on the front lines. They might be part of a call center. I don't know, where people are going to be complaining about, to say, their flight's being delayed or a package not arriving or any number of things. Is there anything else that we should be saying besides I understand? I understand, plus be thinking, how can I, 1 acre it, or whatever they say in South Dakota?
Yeah, I think the first thing you want to do is, here's what I heard you say, Marley. Is this what you meant? Making sure.
Oh, that's huge. You know what? That is huge. You're exactly right. Because sometimes the inflection, a lot of times the inflection, and then you'll be like, that's not what I meant at all. And you're looking at the person like, how could you even get that? And you're like, so yeah, that's a great point. Is that what you meant? Okay, got it.
Is that what you meant? And then the second thing, okay, based on what you said, here are some options. When you give people options, instead of saying this is the way, or take it or leave it, people kind of shut down. So they want to be a part of making choice. Give them choice. Here's the option based on everything that you said. Now that I have teed up these options, does this meet your need? Does this meet your expectation or even exceed it? And it's those little things where you're practicing radical empathy to say, here's what I'm thinking. They're like, okay, this is resolved. And they just dial down the emotion a little bit, all because you connected. The other thing, just as a side, pay attention to the language that people use, and in communicating, give the language back to them. Use their words, their phraseology, because that lets them know that they truly have been heard.
Even if they're saying F-U-M-F-er, you should say, so what I hear you saying is that I'm an...
With reason.
Okay, well, listen, Simon, you don't know who you're talking to here. You got to be very clear. Otherwise, I'm going to be running around. Simon told me to tell you were what I'm supposed to. I mean, right? I'm not the brightest bulb in the box. So let's get specific. Okay. They're positive and joyful. Okay. Bless you, everybody. Okay. Simon, he is positive and joyful. That's for sure. Now, let me ask you another thing. Like when it's, sometimes you feel like, oh, I can't think of anything, or there's nothing I can do. I mean, the holding the door example is great, right? I think, what about, like, what would you say about something like, if you did get a good, somebody did really try, even if you didn't get the response maybe, or the outcome that you wanted, but they really did try. Like, what about when they say, if you don't mind, stay on the phone for a quick survey afterwards? Like, maybe that would be something that people could do, just to sort of do something a little bit extra. Whereas, a lot of times I feel like, oh, Lord have mercy, I don't have time for that. But that could be a good thing. That might really help them.
One of the things that you can do, because people probably will not follow up or hit the extension for feedback, ask them, is there anything we could have done to make this better for you? What could we improve on? So right there, you're getting just a survey in the moment, real time. Well, if you did this, this, and this, it would have been better. just asking that question allows you to get data real time.
Well, and that's another great point, because now that all these companies, I mean, large or small, are working with, large data models. And that's great because so many of these calls are recorded, right? So you're actually giving not only the person, the customer, but you're giving the person who is actually trying to be a better customer service representative, and then potentially the company something to actually improve upon. Because if enough people said that and they said, yeah, actually, if you had just said ... and sometimes it's very small. What I found in sticky situations is it isn't always about getting, let's say, quote, what I want from the situation. Sometimes it's just how somebody handles it, right? Yeah. Yes. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I'm sure that would be so frustrating. Like, instead of feeling like you're talking to a bot, because otherwise it's like, assistance is just a moment away. Please hold, and you're just like, like those commercials. So kind of adding some humanity to it. What else are you inspired by, working on? What would you like to, since you're kind of like Gandhi to me, what change would you like to see in the world? What are your thoughts?
I think
on coming up,
we've got to focus on food insecurity. We should say, how do we ensure that no child is left with an empty belly? Because when you have an empty belly, it impacts cognitively how you learn. So really addressing the food insecurity that is across America and the world.
I love that. And I want to say food insecurity, but I also want to say, like, try to focus on something remotely that's healthy, like an apple or, nuts or something, instead of just like, okay, so they're not hungry anymore because they just had somebody just gave them a Snickers bar, and then that's going to have all kinds of other secondary issues. But I love that. And what made you think of that? Like, is that, because I don't know that I've ever heard you, I mean, you might have, but I don't know that I've ever heard you talk about that.
So years ago, during the pandemic, I launched something called Spark Hope Now, where I had people just present and share for 8 minutes to inspire people. And then at the end, we said, guess what? We're going to put a QR code in the chat. Love for everyone to make a donation to World Central Kitchen. He goes into troubled areas around the world to bring food, because food connects people. And when I saw that, I just really start thinking about, what can I do in my little patch of where I live? So this is not to get any brownie points. This is just an example. But I donate to our mission here in town. Wow. That they said we can feed a person for $1.24 a day. So if I write like $100 or $200 check, somebody's going to eat. So I have very quietly, I've never put it on social, I'm saying this publicly for the first time, I stroke a check monthly or every other month to feed hundreds of families. That's what I can do. That's what I can do in my little pack. Everyone listening to us right now can do something. So, Marley, I decided to stop playing Monday morning quarterback, talking about all the problems in the world, and say, how can I be a solution? Yeah. What's the one thing that I can do?
Yeah, I love that. And now I know also why God was making me have you on the podcast, because you never know, because somebody else might listen to this and then you're going to multiply your efforts. And I love that too. And as I'm sitting here taping this podcast, I'm looking out my window. And, I love gardening and plants and all that kind of stuff, and my chickens, et cetera. And I'm looking at my banana tree out there that's got all these, new bananas on it. And it kind of made me think, like, even if somebody doesn't have the money to write $100 check or $200 check, first of all, I'm sure like even change out, if you have change left over, it would be good. But even people who have gardens, right? And, it's like when the tomatoes come in, you have so much more than you can possibly use, or just, like vegetables or fruit or things that you've got too much of. That would be a great way to do that. But I love that too, when you're saying start with the kids. I mean, I should be the poster child for hangry, and I am absolutely non-functioning when I'm hungry. And that's right. I don't think I ever went to school hungry unless I was in big trouble. But can you imagine trying to actually learn and take a test if you haven't eaten breakfast, or let alone if you haven't eaten dinner the night before? And that's a reality for so many Americans, and certainly so many people in this world.
Absolutely. And as people are really concerned about AI, as they're looking over their shoulder, wondering if AI is coming for them, people are being displaced, unhoused individuals. It's real. So how do we just bring hope by just looking at the situations in our communities and start there to be a solution to a problem?
And one of my friends, I have a lot of friends now who have just sent their last kid or, off to college. And I'm, my last one is a senior, and, everything is about the tests and the exams and and the volunteer stuff. And it's like, it doesn't matter how much you have, going for you, it's still not enough. Right. And my friend said something that she did, I think actually with all three of her kids. And it started because, you want to have something for the college app, but it went way beyond that. And what she would do is she would there was a shelter or something near her. And so she would have her kids bake a birthday cake. She either baked the birthday cake or she gave the box and the supplies to the shelter, to do it for anybody. They would tell them, oh yeah, we have a birthday coming up. And she would do that. And she said it was so simple. And the kids absolutely loved it. And can you imagine, if you don't have anything to eat and then it's your birthday and you don't have anything, or you're a mom with a kid in a shelter and you don't have anything, and you're like, I don't even have, a cupcake I think that's just such a great idea. And I think cooking is something that, families, we should all be doing more of together. And even if it's just baking a cake out of a box and, adding the egg in the water, I think that's a great option. So maybe that's something people could think about, so that, small things like that don't go without being noticed.
Everybody can do something. So it's just
everybody can do something. You are correct. Everybody can do something. So any other parting shot, Simon, or any other good, other than we've got to go buy the book, Resilience at Work, How to Coach Yourself into a Thriving Future. I almost said Training Fortune. So Thriving Future. Couldn't read maybe that should be another book. I couldn't read my book. So what else? Well, how can people find you? Where do you want them to go?
Yeah, SimonTBailey.com. All my information is there, and social media, Simon T. Bailey. I would encourage, Marley, everyone listening to us, specifically pick up the phone, make a video, send it to someone, and tell them why you appreciate them. It's a just because, not because you're in trouble, not because you did anything wrong. It's just that just because that is a way of hugging people with your words. It's the message in the bottle. It's that carrier pigeon to the soul that just kind of comes out with just a little joy bomb that invites people to say, whoa, that was really kind. I think, start there.
Yeah, I think that's a terrific idea, because Lord knows the world over, everybody's got cell phones. And I love that. And then maybe even you go so far as to send it to the person, and then maybe you put it on TikTok and you tell everybody, hey, listen, this is for my friend so-and-so, and I want to encourage you to do one, and tag who you would send one to, that kind of thing. So it focuses on good things that are happening.
That's that hope economy.
Right.
Oh, that's it.
The hope economy. So everybody, I highly encourage you to find Simon, follow him. He is a breath of fresh air, a pocket of sunshine, literally. And I'm so glad that I stalked you into doing the podcast. And if you haven't already, everybody, please subscribe to the podcast, like it, give a comment, share it, tell a friend. We would be so grateful. So Simon T. Bailey, thank you for being on the show. Love it. And we will see you all next week. Okie doke. Have a good one.